Las Vegas, January 9th, 2019. It was 3:17 in the morning, and the city that never sleeps was taking a breath. The neon glow of the Strip had softened, the endless chorus of slot machines now a gentle hum. Inside the opulent Wind Casino, the marble floors gleamed under a skeleton crew's watch, a world of high stakes and higher security, a fortress of fortune. Every card, every dollar, every face, or so they thought. In that quiet hour, a ghost moved through the machine. A man no one ever really saw, even when he was right in front of them. His name was Miguel Santos. To the few who noticed, he was just part of the scenery, a janitor pushing a gray cart across polished stone, a fixture of the graveyard shift, surveillance cameras, hundreds of them. They faithfully recorded his every move. A nod to a sleepy guard. A pause to wipe a smudge there. Ordinary. But that night, ordinary was a costume. Routine was the final act of a meticulously planned crime. Miguel slipped into a restricted hallway. It didn't raise a single alarm. He had the key, the uniform, the right to be there. A trusted employee, cleaning these corridors for nearly a decade. 23 minutes later, he re-emerged. The contents of his cart had changed, hidden beneath black garbage bags, hidden beneath cleaning supplies. A fortune beyond comprehension. $38 million in high-value casino chips. By sunrise over the desert, Miguel Santos and his haul were gone. The fallout would be immense. How could this happen? How could a man with a mop-a-bucket bypass one of the most sophisticated security systems ever devised? FBI agent Robert Chen, one of the lead investigators on the case, would later put it simply. Casinos watch gamblers, not janitors. He weaponized his invisibility, years of accumulated knowledge. The quiet desperation of a man pushed to the edge. To understand the man who broke the bank at the Wind Casino, you have to go back. Back to Guadalajara, Mexico, where Miguel Eduardo Santos was born in 1972. He was the eldest son in a family that knew the value of hard work. His father was a construction worker, his hands calloused from building a world he could never quite afford to live in. His mother cleaned the homes of the wealthy, moving silently through rooms filled with treasures, a ghost in someone else's life. From them, Miguel learned a fundamental truth. The people who keep the world running are often the ones the world forgets. In 1995, at the age of 23, Miguel came to America. He crossed the border legally, a work visa in his pocket, and a heart full of the kind of hope that only the young and determined possess. Las Vegas was his destination, a city booming with construction, a desert metropolis built on opportunity. His life seemed to be tracking the arc of the American dream. In 2000, he married Elena Rodriguez, a kind-hearted nurse he met at a local church. They built a life together, a small but happy world filled with the sounds of their two children, Carlos, Sofia. For years, Miguel's vision of a stable, prosperous life seemed within reach.
He was the best kind of man.
He worked so hard, never complained. His family was everything. He wasn't trying to get rich, he was just trying to provide. The construction boom that had brought him to Las Vegas provided steady work through the early 2000s. He even worked on renovation projects at the Wind Casino, unknowingly gaining an intimate knowledge of the very building he would one day plunder. But then came 2008. The financial crisis hit Las Vegas like a tidal wave, and the construction industry collapsed almost overnight. The skills that had built his family's foundation were suddenly worthless. For the first time since arriving in America, Miguel Santos was out of a job, a casualty of a dream deferred. The recession left scars on Las Vegas that wouldn't heal for years. For men like Miguel, it was a catastrophe. His response was typical of his character. He didn't despair, he adapted. He took the first steady job he could find, even if it felt like a step backward. In March 2009, the Wind Casino hired him as a night shift custodial worker. The pay was $11.50 an hour, a brutal cut from his construction wages. But it was a paycheck. It was survival. The pressure began to build. Slowly. Insidiously. His custodial wages were never enough to comfortably support a family of 4 in a city with a rising cost of living. Then, in 2015, the fragile piece of their lives shattered. Elena was diagnosed with diabetes, a chronic condition that required expensive medications and constant medical care. Their health insurance, a minimal plan offered through his job, barely made a dent in the bills. The medical debt began to pile up an avalanche in slow motion, pushing their finances past the breaking point. A quiet desperation began to seep into the corners of their home. He was working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and we were still falling behind, Elena recalled. For 10 years, Miguel Santos perfected the art of being invisible. He learned the rhythms of the Wynn Casino, a vast, complex ecosystem. He knew its secret passages, hidden corners, service corridors, back office spaces, better than most security guards. He understood when the crowds were thickest, and when the building fell into a deep, watchful silence. But more than the layout, he learned the psychology of the place. Some people are meant to be watched. Others are meant to be ignored. Night shift custodial workers occupy a strange, powerful position. They possess near-universal access. Their duties send them everywhere, from high-roller suites to the deepest corners of the back of house. They work when supervision is at its lowest. They are ubiquitous, part of the background, functionally invisible. People see the uniform, not the person. Desperation has a way of sharpening the senses. It makes you notice things you've overlooked 1,000 times before. For nearly a decade, Miguel Santos had walked past the casino's chip storage areas without a second thought. They were just another part of his nightly route. But with the weight of $85,000 in debt crushing him, he started to see them differently. He began to see not just a storage room, but a vulnerability. He saw a gap in the casino's armor, a flaw in a system that believed itself to be impenetrable. The fortress, he realized, had a back door, and he had the key. His discovery was simple, but, kind of profound. During the quiet overnight hours, typically between 3 and 6 in the morning, high-value chips were moved through a predictable sequence. After being counted and reconciled, they were placed in sealed containers and temporarily stored in a service area near the main cashier's cage. This area was secure, yes, but not as secure as the main vaults. The containers were locked with standard industrial padlocks, not bank-level hardware. The area was monitored by cameras, but not continuously watched by a dedicated human guard. It was a brief, transitional state of vulnerability. Miguel began his research, not with a computer, but with his eyes and his feet. He became a silent ethnographer of casino operations. He mentally timed the movements of guards, noting their patrol routes and the moments they were most likely to be distracted. He observed staffing levels, camera blind spots, and the precise window of time when the chip containers were left in that transitional storage. He realized his custodial access card, the one that led him into closets and service corridors, also opened the door to this supposedly secure area. On the night of January 9th, 2019, the desert air was crisp with a winter chill. Miguel Santos clocked in for his shift at 11 o'clock, just as he had for nearly 3,500 nights before. There was nothing in his demeanor to suggest this night would be different. His supervisor, James Park, would later say he seemed completely normal, maybe even more focused than usual. For the first 4 hours of his shift, Miguel was the perfect employee. He restocked supplies. He emptied trash cans. He cleaned restrooms. His movements a familiar dance of routine labor. The casino slowly emptied out, the energy of the evening giving way to the quiet lull of the deep night. At 2:30 in the morning, he began to set the stage. He positioned his custodial cart in a service corridor near the main cashier's cage, the designated spot for his work in that area. He loaded it with his usual supplies. He also loaded several empty black-lined containers that would soon hold his prize. The critical moment arrived at 2:58 a.m. As if on cue, a minor altercation broke out between a pair of intoxicated gamblers in the poker room. 2 security guards were dispatched to handle it. Their attention was pulled away from their monitors and focused on the disturbance. This was the window Miguel had been waiting for. At 3:04 a.m., security cameras recorded him using his access card to slip into the secure service area. He moved with a calm, unhurried efficiency that showed months of mental rehearsal. Inside, he pulled a pair of bolt cutters from his supplies. He snipped the industrial locks on 6 of the chip containers. He targeted the ones he knew held the highest value chips. The purple $5,000 chips. The chocolate-colored $25,000 chips. Each container held millions. He worked with the precision of a surgeon. His movements economical and purposeful. At 3:19 a.m., he emerged. His cart was now significantly heavier, loaded with an estimated $38 million in casino chips, all concealed beneath a layer of garbage bags and cleaning rags. The most heart-stopping moment came at 3:22 a.m., when he encountered a security guard, Robert Mitchell, making his rounds. Mitchell nodded a hello. "I saw Miguel pushing his cart, said hello like I always did," Mitchell later recounted. He said something about working late. There was absolutely nothing that suggested he was in the middle of a multi-million-dollar theft. At 3:27 a.m., Miguel reached a loading dock, transferred the containers to a waiting van, and drove away. The entire heist, from entry to exit, had taken 23 minutes. The largest inside theft in Las Vegas history might have gone unnoticed for hours, even days if not for the meticulous routine of Patricia Valdez. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the casino's financial controller began her daily reconciliation of the chip inventory, a fundamental accounting procedure in the world of high-stakes gaming. Every chip, lowly $1 token, coveted $25,000 plaque had to be accounted for. Any discrepancy, no matter how small, triggers an immediate investigation. Her day began like any other, reviewing the digital records of the previous night's activity. The first red flag appeared when she tried to match the computer records with the physical inventory. The system showed 6 containers of high-value chips should have been in the temporary overnight storage area awaiting transfer to the main vaults. Valdez went to verify their presence. They weren't there. "My first thought was that it was an administrative error," Valdez recalled. "I assumed someone had moved them to a different secure location and simply forgotten to update the logs. It happens." She spent the next hour checking other storage areas and contacting department heads. The chips were nowhere to be found. At 9:15 a.m., she made the call that would send shockwaves through the casino. She contacted Security Director David Chen. "When Patricia told me that $38 million in chips were unaccounted for, my first reaction was disbelief," Chen said. He immediately initiated a full lockdown and dispatched his team to conduct a comprehensive search. The search confirmed their worst fears. The containers were gone. A closer look revealed the cut locks. This was no accounting error. This was a major crime. By 10:30 a.m., a team was poring over hours of security footage, looking for anything out of the ordinary. The breakthrough came when an analyst focused on the service corridors. The footage was shockingly clear. It showed Miguel Santos, the quiet janitor, entering the secure area at 3:04 a.m., emerging 23 minutes later with a heavily laden cart. For nearly a year, Miguel Santos was a ghost. He had vanished into the sprawling, unregulated gambling dens of Southeast Asia, a world away from the life he had known. He was living in a world of violent criminals. Trust was a commodity, and life was cheap. The pressure and the pain of being separated from his family began to take its toll. Then, in November 2019, the ghost reached out. Through a series of intermediaries, Miguel signaled that he wanted to negotiate his surrender. On February 14, 2020, Miguel Santos walked into the United States consulate in Hong Kong and surrendered. The great manhunt was over, not with a dramatic raid, but with a quiet, calculated deal.